Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. And I wanted to go ahead and make a video responding and reacting to the Captain Marvel trailer. I know that it's not absolute fresh news right now, it's been a few days, but I wanted to wait and think about it and have some time to let it sink in and see what other people's reactions were. We spoke about this a little bit on my live stream, Office Hours live stream the other night, and I voiced some of what I'm going to say here, and I've thought about it since then and want to talk about it a little bit more deeply. I think that there's definitely problems and cause for concern, and I think that they need to be spoken about and they need to be discussed, but I think that there's so much reactionary bandwagoning on either side of the issue that it's making it a little hard to really strike at what the real issues and the real problems are here. So I wanted to try and be as specific and kind of level-headed, not screaming about the SJWs are this and that about it, just to try to communicate some real issues that I see with the film. So I don't think we can truly say with the trailers we've seen that's it for the MCU, the SJWs, they've infiltrated, and it's all that's dead now. I think that's a little fatalistic. There's definitely some SJW influence happening with this movie that we need to talk about, and it's a problem. And then I would love for fan reaction to be able to ultimately steer the universe away from. Now, some of that at its basis is just the inclusion of this version of Captain Marvel, right? Not going the Miss Marvel route, not going the more classic idea of the character. That doesn't have to mean that we're going to have Carl Manvers from the Marvel comics necessarily. They are changing a lot of things, and we're seeing some things changing in the film's trailer itself. I think that I truly believe that given the track record of the MCU and Kevin Feige's track record, I trust Kevin Feige. I think that we're going to receive a good story from this movie because he knows how to preside over good stories. He knows how to make sure that they are told. Even the films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that weren't as good as the other movies, your Iron Man 2 or your Thor 2 or whatever, they're still fun to watch. They're not horrible, god-awful films by any means. They're just not up to snuff, and there's this or that issue with them and the world building or whatever. They're still fun movies to watch. So I don't think that's necessarily all going to just suddenly stop with Captain Marvel, and because of the SJW propagandist influence and whatnot, that's just going to no longer be the case here. The problem in terms of a story, in terms of construction and story arc and everything, would be that the treatment of Carol Danvers. Is she going to be Mary Sued in this film? It's possible, and a lot of scenes from the trailers look like that might be the case. On the other hand, the story seems to be, from the trailers as they've revealed to us thus far, it seems to be that she has been brainwashed somewhat, or at least wiped in her memories and something like that by the Kree in order to fight the Skrulls, and that this is the story of her breaking that allegiance, breaking that brainwashing, and deciding to be something of her own. We see the scene when she really takes on the red, blue, and gold costume at the end. So given that storyline, I don't think it necessarily has to be a Mary Sue story arc. I think it could be a decent story arc for her. I think that the real problem with the SJW influence is in the portrayal, the presentation of Captain Marvel in this film. The costuming and whatnot, I think that we're going to have this not very form-fitting, head-to-toe leather costume, and I think that's the carryover, and that's what pisses a lot of people off, and honestly, it pisses me off too, because this is mythology. Screw your gender deconstruction, screw your, no, she needs to not be objectified, or no, she's a superhero, she's a mythological hero, she needs to have a form-fitting costume, especially if we're going to present her as a heroine in this film. She needs to show off her body, just as Captain America doesn't need to be walking around in a sweatsuit or anything like that. We should have had the sash at the very least that she wears as even as Captain Marvel. That's a throwback to the Miss Marvel costume. So there are issues in the presentation. Maybe that can be worked out. This does seem to be an origin film. Obviously it is an origin film, so maybe this stuff can be worked out by the time she comes back to Earth for Avengers 4. So that's the real problem. I think that the things that the film is taking from the comics are the wrong things, like the silly Mohawk helmet. That's just stupid. That's from the recent Captain Marvel, the gender deconstruction, Carl Manvers, stories and whatnot, and the Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. Those stories and that line has never been as popular as Carol Danvers Miss Marvel. And I'm talking about in terms of the character being beloved by the fans and them wanting to spend time with her and wanting to follow her stories. I'm not talking about people just embracing the character for the tokenism for their political agenda or whatever. I'm not necessarily talking about the sales that reflect that or anything. I don't know all about that. But it's taking the wrong thing from the comics, little pieces like that. So I hope that will be rectified. I hope that we'll see more positive stuff. I hope that we'll see a true Carol Danvers in her personality and everything emerge as we knew her in Miss Marvel. And that brings me to another point in the film, the critique of Carol Danvers with the smiling and with all of that. Now, we were absolutely right to call that out in the earlier trailers. That was a problem. And I don't buy any of this nonsense about, oh, how dare you expect a woman to smile or what? No, a hero should be smile. She's not the Punisher. Stop trying to make her something like that. Carol Danvers has a personality. The original Carol Danvers, not the butch gender deconstructionist warpath character that she tends to be made in recent comics. But this last trailer and some of the reveals we've seen does hint at a part of the story, which is that she's trying to rediscover who she is. She's trying to rediscover these memories. So she is very much a wiped soldier-type personality when we see her through a good portion of the film. That would explain the lack of smiles, the lack of expression, the lack of emotion in the facial expressions. That would explain that. Now, that's not a pass on that choice as a story. That's still a major problem, and I'm really upset that they chose to rewrite Miss Marvel and rewrite Carol Danvers in this way and give her this origin of a memory wipe and all of this nonsense. And that's a real problem. And that's what I think people should be expressing when they talk about the lack of expression. They should be expressing the fact that it's a problem that Carol Danvers has her story rewritten like this. But as far as it goes, Brie Larson isn't emoting, I don't think that's the case. I think she's playing the part that's been written, and that part seems to be, from the trailers thus far and from the second trailer, seems to be a character who has very little emotion at first until she begins to rediscover her memory. So once we see the whole film, if Brie Larson's somehow unable to emote after she rediscovers who she is, then yeah, that's a problem. And I'm also not trying to defend Brie Larson because she's already has a lot of strikes against her with her nonsense comments about the Wrinkle in Time and all of that. I think it's very telling, though, that she seems to have shut up in the media since all of that, and that's good to see that Marvel's reined her in a bit, which is hopefully the case. So I guess I understand if you are a real passionate Miss Marvel fan, really a passionate original Carol Danvers Miss Marvel fan, I absolutely see how this film could even be a deal breaker for you, how you would even want to just scrap the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I truly understand that. I think that's a reason, that's a valid response to it. Coming from my own perception, I like and I really do enjoy the original Miss Marvel, original Carol Danvers, but she's not the linchpin of the Marvel universe for me. I don't, it's not an absolute deal breaker for me. I'm not going to enjoy this movie as much as I would have had it been the original classic Miss Marvel, but if they want to change the character, that's not enough for me personally in my fandom to have me drop the entire MCU from the other things that I enjoy. Now, the last problem that I'll mention here is that it does seem to be that this is a huge hinge for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they've set it up that Carol Danvers is supposed to be this big savior. She's going to come back and really help them turn the tables in Avenger 4. That's, again, if you're looking for the original Miss Marvel, I understand. I'm not talking about that right here. But in terms of the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I hope and the concern is, which is a valid concern, that they don't hang too much on this one character, because we'll have to see in the film how much they actually develop her as a character, but how much audience investment are they really going to be able to build in a character who, part of the movie, she's just sort of a blank slate and has her memory wiped, and then there's also all of this pressure from the SJW nonsense to make her tough and make her not too feminine and blah 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 blah. It's going to be really hard to build a character that people care about, because people don't really care about Captain Marvel in the comics now. They don't. The SJW don't really care. They don't like to spend time with her. They just like the fact that there's a symbol, there's a token that they can hold up and flash around as they make their little arguments and whatnot. So that's going to be something I'll be looking for in the film. Are they making this a character that I actually want to spend any time with? And how are they going to develop the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the future here? Carol Danvers can never be to the Marvel Cinematic Universe what Superman is to the DC Universe. If they even remotely try some sort of nonsense like that, then the MCU will be doomed, because Captain America is to the Marvel Universe what Superman is to the DC Universe in terms of the hope and inspiration and the leader. And I know that maybe Chris Evans isn't going to be in the MCU for that much longer or whatever, but there's no replacing that. There's no making Captain Marvel that. So that'll be a problem if they decide to go that route. Don't know. I don't know exactly which way they'll go. So I hope this video made a few things clear in terms of the absolutely valid concerns that people have about this movie, without the sort of fatalistic jumping the gun in some ways, and some of the more passionate reactions or whatever. Not necessarily saying that Brie Larson needs to be defended and that she's a great actress or anything like that. I have no knowledge about that at all. I just think that in terms of the smiling thing, that's not necessarily, it doesn't necessarily have to be her fault. We'll see if she's completely unable to emote even after the film allows her to with her regain memories. If the film goes that far, we'll see. I think there are some problems with the presentation of her character, but hopefully that would be at least tweaked a bit to be more palatable by Avengers 4. And I hope that they don't place too much on this character's shoulders. I know it seems like they're going to, and a lot of the things they've said, but there's still time to alter that. The marketing for the film is a real problem. This whole nonsense about the that's just stupid. And they should really truly be embarrassed for even marketing the film in that manner, because this isn't that kind of story, and it shouldn't be that kind of story. And if they try to make it that kind of story, it will fall flat. And it doesn't even necessarily seem like it's that. I don't really see a lot in the trailers necessarily saying, oh, a woman can do it first. I don't really see that. So it just seems nonsense that they would even put that with the titles there. But we'll see about that. We'll see how much they end up crossing the line with that. But there's a lot to see. I think that the marketing thus far, I don't think it's really earned me seeing it on opening weekend. So I'm not going to. I think if they change some things up and if they reveal some things that make it sound better, I might reconsider. But as of right now, that hasn't earned my opening weekend money. Certainly not. And that's a shame for an MCU, because in the past, any Marvel Cinematic Universe would have had my opening weekend money. So this is there's cause for concern, but it's not an absolute close the book on the Marvel Cinematic Universe yet. It's not absolutely signing it over to the SJW agenda just yet. That's my basic tie-up comment. So I think voicing these concerns now is a good thing. Let me know what you think in the comments. Stay tuned for more reviews, live streams, archetype videos, and all of that good stuff. And until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.